Welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, and Smart podcast. Each week, we interview the best and brightest in physical therapy, wellness, and entrepreneurship. We give you cutting-edge information you need to live your best life, healthy, wealthy, and smart. The information in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as personalized medical advice. And now, here's your host, Dr. Karen Litzy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Karen Litzy, and in this episode, co-host Jenna Kantor is back, and this time she is interviewing people involved with Empower SCI or Empower Spinal Cord Injury. So she interviews Dr. Carrie Callahan, who is a physical therapist and one of the founders of Empower SCI, and Matthew Bremekamp, who is a participant in the program who has now become a mentor with Empower SCI. This is a really inspiring episode. We're really excited that Carrie and Matthew took the time out to speak with Jenna. So in this episode, they discuss Empower SCI's mission to integrate patients back into their community, the benefits of volunteering with a nonprofit, multitude of ways to get involved and support Empower SCI, and Carrie and Matthew's favorite memories while working with Empower SCI. One of the biggest quotes from this episode was from Matthew, who is a spinal cord injury patient or someone living with a spinal cord injury. And he has this great quote that says he looks at life as more of a why not instead of a why, which is so inspiring and so wonderful. So I want to thank Jenna and Carrie and Matthew for a wonderful interview. And hopefully you guys will all check out Empower SCI. Everything you need is in the show notes. So if you go over to podcast.healthywealthysmart.com, you can click on all of the links that we talk about in today's episode, including the link for Empowered SCI. Enjoy.
Hello, this is Jenna Kantor. I am proudly getting to interview today Carrie Callahan and Matthew Bremekamp, who work with Empower Spinal Cord Injury or Empower SCI today. And we're going to be talking more about this great organization. But first, I just want to quickly introduce each of you. So Carrie, she is the president and co-founder, while Matthew is a lead peer mentor. So these are the ideal people to learn more about this great foundation. Is it a foundation? What is it exactly?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit. So we're a certified nonprofit organization, incorporated in 2010, and we got our nonprofit status back in 2011.
That's wonderful. And then what exactly is it, and what's its mission for Empower SCI?
So Empower is, we call it a second chance at rehab. A lot of times after a traumatic spinal cord injury, people have an opportunity to go through their, acute hospital stay, acute rehab, and then they go home with the ability to survive. And we're a 2-week program that offers, life skills to give them the opportunity to really thrive in their home environments and in the community. So we cater towards people that have been injured between 1 and 5 years. We've had people that have been injured 17, 18 years that have come to the program and still gotten a ton out of it. But that's kind of our mission, is to create a lot of people with spinal cord injuries to live a happier, more successful, more meaningful life.
I love that. How did it come into fruition?
I think the big thing is with the shortening rehab stays in inpatient rehab, or the more efficient rehab stays, I guess, people are going home with, closer and closer to their injury, with less time allowed for, coping, healing of the body, and that sort of thing. So a lot of the topics that are covered in inpatient rehab are vital to survival, but not necessarily to, knowing how to enjoy life again. And so we kind of focus on a different time frame after injury, so in hope to capture people when they're ready to get out there, light a passion for what they want to return to, or what kind of activities or life enjoyment or career focus that they want to get back into. to get back into the community.
That's a big deal, because I really like that you're hitting upon this, because there is so much focus on getting out of the hospital, but we want to have a life. We want to have a great life. Everybody does. And you are literally catching an important, I want to say niche, but I just want to say a point in somebody's life that just helps them really thrive. I think that's absolutely wonderful. You tapped upon it a little bit, but would you mind going into detail, a little more detail on who exactly participates in this program?
So we have the three directors, or the three co-founders that kind of lead the program. We have a batch of fantastic clinical specialists. So we have occupational therapists, physical therapists, massage therapists, our peer mentors. We have a nurse that all help to provide the care. And then our volunteers, our RESAID, they help with daily care, anything that somebody might need throughout the 24-hour spectrum. A lot of them are physical therapists, occupational therapists, different health profession students that come and are able to learn a bit while they're volunteering their time. And then participants are, we take 12 people for our 2-week program every year that are at least 1 year out from their injury, and like I said, are just ready to find their passion.
If I could say, I think it's what we really look for is, with the at least a year out, the mentality of the person is really important, that they are open-minded to what's next. I felt, I'm a C7, T1 is my injury, para, and coming out of acute rehab, it was like, it was so out of my mind. I thought it was like, no job, no work. I'll never have a romantic relationship or date again. Go back to school, drive, like you name it, and it was like over. And then after this program shows you literally all of the openings that you think are gone. I mean, I guess all is a pretty big thing, but for me, I couldn't believe the number of life enriching activities that I was still available for me, and that I just needed someone to expose me to in order for me to go get it.
I love that. And so you signed up for Tinder very confidently at that
Yeah.
point. And you're like, all right, I got this.
Yeah, oh, so you've heard of me. That's great.
Famous. So Matthew, I'm very interested, what from your perspective, what do the volunteers get out of this program?
It is what's so amazing about this is that you find the entire group of people that get selected to be a part of this, because from the volunteers to the participants, there is a process where we have to look through everybody and try to create the most willing and the group is going to get the most out of it. And that also goes for our volunteers who are going to come in and be res aides and our clinical specialists. Everyone has the right kind of community mentality and motivation that they want to share with it. Now, once you're here, the volunteers practically get a similar experience as the participants, which is really amazing, because they're here to volunteer their time and to help people, but you end up getting, real life knowledge and experience that you're not going to pick up in a classroom. You get immediately exposed to all these different levels of injuries, personalities, and people who all do things different ways. So leading into that is also networking, is that you get to understand the little tips and tricks that I would, a lot of times when you're newly injured, I didn't have any other friends in chairs. So when I came to a place, you need some people at your acute rehab, but when you come to a place like this and it's a community, you say, oh my God, I love your backrest. Where does that come from? Or, I've been looking for a cup holder. And it's like, even the people that are going to learn how to be therapists or go into some sort of related field, the value or the experience is of great value.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything else you want to add to that, Carrie?
Yeah, I think like for students specifically, or for young clinicians, we actually have quite a few of our volunteers this year are young clinicians. It's taking things out of the clinic. So it's not necessarily working with people during the 45 minutes that you have where you're sectioned off into we need to get all of these things done in this short amount of time that might happen in an outpatient clinic, but also working with people throughout the 24-hour spectrum. So if someone is really working, if someone's goal during their time here is to be able to reposition them at night, then you're working with them in that situation, and helping them to figure those sorts of things out real time versus, just seeing them in the clinic for that small picture. It gives a much broader I feel like it also helps with, just disability awareness in general, and just being comfortable with, working with people that use wheels to get around, which is kind of how we like to frame things here too. Just like, just normalizing that especially for the young clinicians and the students that are coming into the field fresh.
Because it is normal.
Right.
At the end of the day, it is normal. It's just may not be the normal that you grew up with or something, but there's all different. There's a large span of what is normal.
Right.
It's just that it really depends on how I grew up. That's it. That's
right.
all it is.
Exposure and all that. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And I really would love, this is amazing. Would you mind getting into more details on how people can get involved, both volunteer and then participants? This is incredible.
Sure. So we have our application process for our 2-week program here at Stony Brook opens up January 1st. We start accepting applicants for both participants and volunteers. So that can be for our clinical specialist positions or our residential aid positions, which kind of provide the daily care for people. And I think we also have activities throughout the year too to fundraise for the event. This program, if we were to put all the cost of what this program costs to run on the participants, it would be a large sum of money. So we do a lot of fundraising throughout the year to offset that, and still make it affordable for participants. We have a Navi Tire Ride and Roll, which is in the Boston area in October. We run different wheelchair clinics or wheelchair skills courses throughout the year that help to teach wheelchair skills to both wheelchair users and students. So that's another one of our big fundraising avenues that helps to pull in the revenue that it takes to put the program on.
Nice. That's wonderful. And then for you, Matthew, how did you end up getting involved? Like what was your journey with getting involved and becoming a peer mentor?
Well, it started like most of our journeys here, it started as a participant, and I was able to experience and know everything that the program was able to give to me. And ever since that happened, I was so motivated and informed by my experience. I just went home and just kept on the course of excitement throughout the entire year, and that was a year and year and year after that. And all I wanted to do since then is try to share this experience with the next crop of newly injured people who don't know yet how great their lives can still be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, these are the last two questions, and I've actually been really excited about this because then you can give more insight of your own experiences. So if each of you wouldn't mind taking an opportunity to speak of a story of one of your favorite memories at Empower SCI. I know that might be difficult.
Oh yeah. It's hard to pick out just one, but I think there's at this year's program, so we're right in the middle of our 2-week program, and at this year's program we have one participant that traveled from down south. He took his first flight since his injury to get here and be with us for the program. And I talked to him before he came, and he arrived, and he was like, it's good. I think it's going to be a lot. I don't get out of bed every day. I'm not, I'm not all that active during the days. And I'm like, okay, well, I think it'll be a great experience. Come on up. And he's been here. And since he's been here, he is not, it's been hard to wipe that smile off of his face. He's like yesterday we did power soccer, which is like soccer in a power chair. Okay. He got into a tank chair where he was like climbing up and over, small walls and obstacles. The amount of activity that he's done, but also just the amount that he's been exposed to in this time frame, and seeing how happy and interactive and how much he wants to take what he's done here and bring it home. And that, I think, is what we're doing it for, and what all we can really hope for.
That's great. What about you, Matthew?
Well, I had my favorite experience, and I can just take from this summer in particular, although it does span through the years, is a lot of when our participants can kind of come back. So we've had a young man that was with us as a participant years ago. He came through the program. He came back as a mentor, and then went on his way, took that motivation and that information, and he just kept plugging away to kind of build his own life. And now this year, he was able to return to us as one of our featured speakers to talk about going back to work and to talk about juggling your SSI with the new income, and how he went back to school and had to get driving lessons so he could get his adaptive band so he could take himself to school and then to work. And to think that those seeds were planted and the information given to him years ago as a participant has literally rolled into this, full, meaningful, substantive existence for him, that he can come back and share and say, look, guys, all you have to do is be determined, and these things are possible.
That's great. Nobody can see us, but I just have this huge smile. I love it. I love this. So what is the biggest thing you have learned? This is the last question. So what's the biggest thing you have learned from Empower SCI?
I think, we started back in 2010, and we had our first pilot program in 2012. And since then, this is our 7th 2-week program, and every year we come into it and we're putting a lot of time and energy into it before we get here. And then we get here and you see the changes in people, not only participants, but all the volunteers, and how impactful it is and how much it can, really change a person's life for the better. I think the most powerful part of it for me is we're fully volunteer staffed here, so nobody's getting paid for their time. In that, in and of itself, it creates this really positive energy and this unified purpose of forward progress. And that's something that I think is really special. If anything else is going on in life, you can come back to this and you know that there's going to be that similar positive pulsing energy during this 2 weeks, and you're going to see positive change, and you're going to see, just victories that are hard fought for, that I think a lot of times other people kind of take for granted to take for granted in general. So I think that the power of the human spirit is the biggest thing that I've learned about, I guess, during the time that we've had Empower.
I love it. Matthew?
I meant to add this when you had asked about what the volunteers get out of it, because it's so similar also with the participants. And this doesn't make the brochure, but it's this like unbridled sense of joy, the positive energy that not is just shared. I mean, you've seen the participants because of what they get to experience, but our little community that we all have while we're here together is, it's just incredibly powerful. And there's just so many smiles, like all the time. I remember I couldn't fall asleep because I was so happy. I couldn't believe a place like this existed. And to know that even a percentage of that to give to somebody is a gift that keeps on giving to them once they know. For my biggest thing that I've learned or brought back is because I think a lot of times living with a disability, it's real easy for people to talk themselves out of things. And if you have an opportunity, some people like to rationalize why maybe it's not a good idea, or maybe I shouldn't push myself to go for this. And what Empower SCI all taught to me is to look at life more as a why not instead of a why. So rolling up to the bottom of the hill, and this is an actual story because I live in a hilly neighborhood, and I would go around the neighborhood to try to build up strength. And there was when I came to the one intersection, there's a way that I could just keep going around the circle, or there's a way that you could go further up the hill, and it's a really steep ride. And I've been doing it for a year and a half post-injury, just to kind of keep a little fit, but pre-Empower. And Then after the experience, I found myself going around the circle again, and I found myself at the foot of this hill and just looked up it, and I just thought to myself, what would Empower do? Or what would I do at Empower? And I said, why? First I thought, why am I going to climb this hill? And it's like, because it's there. And because I need to test myself. And if I can't do it, I'm going to get strong enough so I can do it. And the determination and motivation and the happiness it brings from setting goals and reaching them.
Oh my gosh, that's so Rocky Balboa. I love it. Oh, next time you do it, you got to put that song on for me, please. That'll be amazing. I love that. Honestly, anybody can learn from that. Why not? Why not? What a perfect way to end this really inspiring podcast. Thank you so much, Carrie and Matthew, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's great.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the podcast at podcast.healthywealthysmart.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media.